welcome to the United Nations Pathways Lecture Series. I'm Dr. Elise Salem, the Associate Provost for Global Learning. Our office sponsors these lectures with the Ambassadors Club at the United Nations and in cooperation with the Provost's Office here on the Metropolitan Campus and with sponsorship by the North Jersey Media Group. A few weeks ago, we held a large symposium on human rights and conflict resolution on both of our Fairleigh Dickinson campuses. On October 18 and on this campus, His Excellency Ibrahim Gambari, Under-Secretary General for Political Affairs at the UN, gave our keynote address on conflict resolution. We also had multiple workshops on peace and reconciliation in South Africa, the peace process in Israel and Palestine, genocide in Darfur, and many, many other workshops that dealt with conflict resolution. We have also sponsored video conferences in the past month with the United Nations on post-conflict peace building, and just last Thursday on terrorism in the world today with Robert Orr, who is the Undersecretary General for Policy Coordination and Strategic Planning. I'm telling you all this because we have been very much gearing up for a semester on human rights and on conflict resolution. So we are delighted to have with us this evening His Excellency Ambassador Desta, the representative of Eritrea to the United Nations, who will talk to us about conflict resolution in his region of the world. I would now like to say a few words about our good friend and partner, Ambassador Ahmed Kamal, who will then introduce tonight's speaker. Ambassador Kamal has been a professional diplomat in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan for close to 40 years, holding multiple diplomatic postings around the world. For 10 years, he served as ambassador and permanent representative of Pakistan to the UN, holding many of the highest elective posts, including the Vice President of the General Assembly. He continues to be a senior fellow of the UN Institute of Training and Research and president of the Ambassadors Club at the UN. He is the author of several publications on disarmament, management, multilateralism, global economic issues, and on technical aspects of informatics and information technology. He is an honorary visiting professor at 6 universities in the US. Please join me in welcoming Ambassador Kamal.
Thank you very much, Provost. It's very difficult for me to introduce our distinguished speaker of this evening for several reasons. The first is that there is a very large and perceptive audience in this room, and that's enough to frighten anybody standing at the podium. The second is that there is concealed, infiltrated into this audience, a large group of diplomats from the United Nations who have very cleverly chosen seats towards the back and in the middle of the room in the hope that you will not perceive them, but they are there, and they are there to make sure that I stay on the straight and narrow, and that I keep Ambassador Desta on the straight and narrow. And so it is with trepidation that I rise to introduce our distinguished speaker. It is in any case not easy to introduce him because Ambassador Desta is a man of many qualities and of many seasons. This is a mathematician, a physicist, an atmospheric meteorologist, a computer programmer, a relief coordinator, and a diplomat all rolled into one. And it's very difficult to get a person of this variety and this degree of versatility. Postings in Scandinavia, in China, and in Canada. In other words, he's been pushed around the world geographically like a football from one end of the world to the other. And so, rather than trying to introduce him, I'm going to try to introduce his country, because there is something unique about Eritrea which brings it very close both to the United States and to Pakistan. Close to the United States and close to Pakistan, because all these three countries, Eritrea, United States, Pakistan, exercised the right of self-determination against imperialist colonialism, and did it successfully, but with great difficulty and with great pain. And so, in all three cases, the net effect of secession from an imperialist mother led to a period of difficulty, continuing difficulty, and in all three cases that those difficulties led to wars for several years after the initial secession. And so we have much in common, and yet we know so little about each other. Hence the great pleasure that we have at having Ambassador Desta with us today. But allow me, before handing the floor over to him, to express happiness at the fact that he is accompanied by Mrs. Desta. Mrs. Desta is a true angel of mercy for two reasons. The first is that her name is Mehrat, which means mercy. And secondly, she is by profession a nurse, which is the angel of mercy. And she had to give up that profession because of this sad marriage to Mr. Desta, Ambassador Desta. And having had to give up her profession of mercy, she has then spent the last decades in nursing him. And nursing him most successfully, as we will see. And so, Ambassador Desta, it gives us great pleasure to see you as the object of mercy of your wife and to honor you at taking the trouble to come to us here at Fairleigh Dickinson.
Thank you, Ambassador. I would like first to express my gratitude and deep appreciation to Ambassador Ahmed Kamal, the founding president of the Ambassadors Club at the United Nations, for extending his kind invitation to me to speak at this distinguished university. It is a great pleasure and indeed a privilege for me to take this moment to convey my thanks to the faculty members of the Fairleigh Dickinson University for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with them on the Eritrea-Ethiopia border conflict. Today, I have prepared preliminary introduction on PowerPoint, and then a presentation, a short presentation. I hope I will not bore you with a lot of information. Maybe there might be a little bit hard facts, but I'll try to finish them within 35 minutes. One thing I got up in here is, as an introduction, I thought to tell you about this Canada issue. But Ambassador Kamal, I think he touched my computer somehow, and he disclosed my secrets. This is true. In the early 1980s, I was in Canada at that time. There was a lot of fighting in Eritrea. And some journalists, some media people asked Pierre Trudeau and told him, what are you doing about what is going on in Eritrea? And he said, where is Eritrea? Those people were not happy, but anyway, they tried to,